Yo, what's up guys, it's Christo, and I'm back with another video. Super random, I know, but I decided to upload this specific series against Vinc2612 because I like this series and it was pretty much the only good series I've had since my Finchinator series in UE Open. Um, so yeah, but before I start, just to clear up of maybe why I haven't uploaded in, I don't know, however long, it's been a while, for anyone that cares. Didn't really care that much, to be honest. I don't really care that much about uploading YouTube. It's obviously not a big deal, and I'm not making it a big deal. I'm not going to try to make it a big deal, but I would like to keep on uploading if people like want me to, and like people genuinely enjoy the content. So I will try my best. As long as people like it, I'll try my best to provide. But if not, then you'll probably see random uploads every month or two like I'm doing right now. If you would like me to record, like, for example, like the Grand Slam playoffs as like a live commentary to give my thoughts and put it on YouTube, and instead of maybe if you missed the game live and instead of watching the replays, you just watch my video commentating over it, it's probably more entertaining. Or just something like that that isn't my gameplay, then I'd be perfectly fine with doing that if people liked it. But if not, then I'll probably stick to this. I don't see myself doing like pokey aim or like blunder like live commentaries. I don't think I'd be particularly entertaining. So I'm just gonna stick with this. So this was in the UU Majors playoffs versus Vinc2612, and he was a very good opponent to get in the first round. For those of you that don't know what the UU Majors is, I'll put a link in the description and you can just read that. I'm not going to explain it here, it would take too much time. But yeah, so I'm in the lower bracket because I came in second in my pool, and so did Vince, and we paired up. So this is the game one match, and let's get into it. And just before, just as like for people that don't know Vince, he's a tournament director. He's a very good battler. He's always been a competent battler, and he has recently got into UU, and he did very well in Grand Slam as a whole. I believe he is out as I'm making this video, but he did extremely well in the UU Open and all the other tiers. So he seems to be having uh, a new enjoyment for lower tiers. So I guess he signed up for UU Majors, did well enough to make playoffs, and here we are. So to start off, this was probably the first time I've ever genuinely tried to build teams for another opponent. I never really did that in SPL. I've never really done it in general. It's really not something I have ever liked to do. I've always liked to build my own teams and let the other player worry about counter teaming me. Obviously a very odd way of thinking, but I really just had I really don't give a fuck like mindset, and there's really no need for that. But even though I do have that mindset a lot, I decided to go and give it a shot to actually quote unquote counter team. I wouldn't call this a counter team, but like at least do some sort of preparation for my opponent. So when I saw Vince, I just scrolled through a couple of his replays and saw that he uses Empoleon on essentially 99% of his teams, and that's not an exaggeration. Almost every single replay he has features a Stealth Rock, Defog, and Empoleon for the most part. So here I wanted to use Choice Specs Hydreigon and Bulky SD Toxicroak. The Choice Specs Hydreigon isn't for anything in particular, but he seems to use more balance and bulkier offenses. If he uses an offense, it's more of a bulky offense and not exactly the fastest teams. So something that Hydreigon could specifically shine in. And I really just enjoy Specs Hydreigon. Since it wasn't banned, I'd be like, oh, I didn't think I'd be able to use this thing again. Let me go ahead and use it. And then obviously Toxicroak is for Empoleon and water types and coming in on those. And I just love bulky Toxicroak in general. Does very well against fat teams. And then from there I just built the rest of the team. I'm not going to go through the whole team, but it's 4 attacks, Aqua Tail, Pursuit Aerodactyl, Aquatail for Crocodile and Gligar to lure counters to Toxstroke, and then just standard Swampert, Sylveon, and Empoleon. So let's get into it. And this is a best of 3, by the way. So he leads Empoleon, he tries Scald Burning, and I go ahead and knock off as I am knock off. Oh yeah, I'm offensive Empoleon. There's another team in which I had Empoleon, and it's especially offensive, but it's knockoff. But this one's knockoff Ice Beam, Scald, and Defog. So here, his Alamomola, is in, and that's a free Toxstroke. I know he's gonna Scald again, trying to fish the burn. Let me get a Swords Dance up. Let me get a third Swords Dance up, and get 3 to where I pretty much pressure the hell of his team. He can't risk going into Crocodile, as I could easily Drain Punch. So I know he's going into Crobat, and I know this team is Pearl's team, if I believe. So he's not using Empoleon, as I would have expected. And I guess he just went and grabbed Pearl's team, expecting me not to expect it. So basically my mindset here was set up 2 Swords Dances, Sucker Punches a roll, and I was just going to force his Crobat to Brave Bird, as I know it's offensive, but he doubles and does a great double into Crocodile as I go Aerodactyl, because what he's doing is scouting the Sucker Punch, because I could have knockoff, and there's no way I'm Drain Punching there, or he could see if I'm going to switch or Sucker Punch, because that is a roll. He needs to know if I'm going to risk that or not, and then Crocodile is obviously a safe switch in, outspeeds and Earthquakes. I go out into Aerodactyl, hoping he would Brave Bird so I can later pursue him, and as this Aerodactyl Crocodile exchange goes on, I go ahead and try Aquatailing, as it's a not so common move, and it will KO Crocodile. And normally Aerial Ace is the best way to hit it, and maybe he has Stone Edge. I know most have Superpower, but he could just try Stone Edge and eliminate my Aerodactyl, so I just go ahead and try to get my kill, but he makes the good play and goes into Alamomola. I go ahead and go into Swampert to try to get my rocks up. He doubles into Crocodile, expecting my Toxstroke, but I really did not have a need to go and try to repeat that. Here, he will knock off. I debated Scalding because I had a feeling he might stand a knockoff, but I valued like my risk versus reward on this play, and I really did not want to free Celebi up. I thought rocks would be more beneficial to pressure that Crobat for Toxstroke, and just Scalding and not getting a burn and Celebi getting a free switch in is just a real pain, as I don't really have a clear switch in. Like, I have Pokemon like Hydreigon, Empoleon, and Aerodactyl that can all like fare well against it, but neither switch in exactly well since this is offensive. Aerodactyl doesn't even KO with Aerial Ace, and Psychic does around 40 something, I don't know, around there. But so I go ahead and Stealth Rock, as he does end up using knockoff. Kind of wish I Scalded in hindsight, but I think I made the right play. I'm not sure what I do here. I don't know if I double switch. Yes, I do double switch into Hydreigon, so I know he's not going to knock off again, because that just does not make any sense, and I can go into Hydreigon on what's expected to be Celebi, in which I can Scout Dazzling Gleam, and he'll probably switch anyway, fearing Choice Scarf, and I can like then switch out to see what he does from there. Then also I can catch an Alamomola or something, and hope, and maybe he's specially defensive and tries to take a Draco Meteor, but he ends up switching out. I go ahead and keep on Draco Meteoring just to see what happens, just to see like what he'll do. Go out into Empoleon. I kind of want to knock this thing off. Empoleon is just an annoying Pokemon, especially with knockoff. He goes, knocks off, I Scald, he Scalds, wishes, and then I go out into my Toxstroke. I Swords Dance once, he wishes, I Swords Dance again, and now I know he's going to Brave Bird, and then now that rocks are up, Pursuit just makes it even more scary. So Pursuit, as in because he should switch out, and then 25%, and I'll leave him really low. That ends up happening, and I crit him, which is very bad for him, as now Stealth Rock's up, and now Crobat is dead 100% unless I defog, which I'm never going to do. So it's very good for my Toxstroke, as his main answer now is Crocodile, although Celebi can win 1v1, and Aggron, even though it is a Steel type, is still annoying. He switches out to... Oh, I see. what I do here. So I pursuit, he goes out into Alamola. Okay, so I predict a double switch into Crocodile. So I go, and I really just don't think he'll Scald. I'm pretty sure he'll switch. And he ends up going into Celebi, although I expected Crocodile. Um, so here I end up trying to pursue him, as I think he needs his Celebi, but he predicts that as he Giga Drains. I guess that makes sense on his end because he saw already revealed Pursuit, so there's no reason for him to switch the first turn. But the second turn, I expect him to switch now for me, expecting me to aerial ace as he has multiple switch-ins. But he ends up staying in and killing my Aerodactyl, which was good on his part. He's in the back foot, so in hindsight, I see where he's coming from. If we're in an even matchup and I didn't have his Crobat dead with Stealth Rocks up and have the lingering threat of Toxicroak, he probably almost certainly would have tried saving a Celebi, but he thought, okay, I need to make the ballsy plays to end up getting back in this game, and it worked out for him. So essentially, I just got outplayed, and I don't think the plays I made were particularly poor. I think double pursuit was a fair play because me not pursuing on the first turn and him going out into Alamomola, let's say, just that would just really bother me, honestly. Like, just letting that pass up, I would just look foolish, and it's not even looking foolish, I would just put me in a bad spot. But he just predicted me twice, and it happens. So I go out into Empoleon as I'm offensive, and go ahead and Ice Beam, and I'll be stronger than Knockoff. He doubles out into Crocodile. I debated Scalding, but I was like, nah, he's probably just going to Wish. But he does make the aggressive switch, and that's very good on his end. I end up going Sylveon just to scout if he'll Superpower, and he does. And I can still take an Earthquake, Protect, and then try to heal up later. See where I double switch, as I pretty much am 100% sure he'll switch. And I go out into my Dragon on his Aggron, which I expect, and I'm Specs, and I Focus Blast. And he stays in as I expect, so now his Aggron's very low. Switching to my Empoleon on his Alamomola. I didn't really expect Alamomola, it makes sense, but I was just hoping to catch something, because I didn't want to lose momentum by clicking useless Focus Blast, knowing that he'll switch. So he goes, he wishes I can't let him heal something up, like Aggron, which is at 14, so I Scald again, also trying to get a burn, so I waste a turn on Blissey. And here he makes a very, very good play. He expects me to switch here. I realistically could have kept on going for the Scald burn, but he figured that I just got burned, so I might as well just switch now because I don't want to let my Empoleon take that much damage. So he predicts that very well. Very good on his part, and he gets my Toxicroak again. So here, he Superpowers the first time. So I'm hoping that he Earthquakes, sorry for stumbling my words there, but if he Earthquakes here on my Sylveon, then I'm just in a terrible position. Then my Sylveon's low, he Earthquakes as I protect, then goes and then when I go into Hydreigon, he just sacks one of his easy sacks, and now I'm in another bad position, but he doesn't give a fuck, and he goes straight for the Superpower. So another good play on his part. Personally, I would not have made that play. I personally would have Earthquaked, but he obviously was on the back end, and he needed to make those plays, and he did, and they were very good plays. So now I pretty much lose, like almost certainly. He has enough sacks to Earthquake and just clean the rest of my team. I'm just going to speed through this. Crocodile ends up going through the rest of my team. I had the advantage. I hacked him early on, but he made the plays in which he needed to do to just end up coming out on top. So nothing I can say here, just got outplayed. On to the second game. This was another team that I built for Vince, and I featured it around Dugtrio, obviously aiming at that Empoleon once again, and I was planning on bringing this game too, just in case he didn't bring Empoleon the first time, which he didn't. So I'm like, okay, if he does bring Empoleon the first time, I'm just going to bring this anyway, the second game, because maybe he always uses Empoleon, no matter what. And so that's why I used this the second game. So it's Life Orb, Dugtrio. I paired it with Snorlax, as I realized he doesn't use ghost types that often. And if he uses fighting types like Heracross or Cobalion a lot, I can still try trapping it with the trio. I don't believe I have Aerialist though, but mainly Cobalion. And I ended up fitting on Sableye just because I saw that it could possibly do a lot of work, and no one really preps for Sableye anymore, so I wanted that like hidden factor, like surprise factor. And Aerodactyl, I always use this thing. It's pretty much just my go-to with, like, it's basically my splashable mon that I throw on just to cover a lot of offensive threats, like Entei, like Sceptile. And then at this point, Empoleon and Celebi were my last two just to piece the team together. So basically it was built around trapping Empoleon and Curse, Snorlax. Like, these three Pokemon in general are not as common in the meta, so I was trying to exploit those that I thought would work well versus him. So here he uses an Empoleon offense like I would have expected the first game, and I'm pretty much sure he'll bring Empoleon this game. So let's start off. So here he leads Entei as I lead Empoleon. This obviously could be Zoroark, and I do not have a Dark Resist. That shows how when you build specifically for an opponent, a lot of times the team won't be the best team of all time. I did play a good amount of games with this team just to see how it worked as a whole, and it did do pretty well, but that's probably because not everyone I play is going to be extremely good. Like, I might be playing on the ladder, and I can still always win those games even though my team's not the best. And I play enough to where I can win most matchups unless I'm playing another competent player, sorry for stumbling my words, but that's when it would be hard. So here I had to switch. A Flare Blitz will just destroy me. I only have one Fire Resist. Ends up being Zoroark, so that puts me in a terrible position. And he gets a crit, which just makes it really, really annoying. So here I start off with bad luck. That really just gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose 2-0. I don't have any Dark Resist, and he just had an amazing start here. And he bluffed the Entei very well. So here I expect a low kick because I don't know. I feel like I didn't have another play. I needed Snorlax, and also Sableye I didn't really need that much. And if he did end up knocking off again, I can still live it and maybe get a Will-O-Wisp off and then try to trap him with Dugtrio. So he does end up low kicking as I expect, and I try to Will-O-Wisp. He knocks off. I recover, and I realize he's doing more than 50%. So I just try to do a last-minute Will-O-Wisp, and I end up missing again, which really sucks. But now I'm going into Dugtrio. I'm assuming he has Sucker Punch. He is physically offensive, so I'm like 95% sure he has it. So, and I have Substitute for things like Toxicroak, which is also annoying for Snorlax and Empoleon. So I sub, he clicks Knock Off, expecting me to have Substitute, which is honestly really weird. But I guess he figured, just because why would you go into Dugtrio? Obviously this says Sucker Punch, so he makes that play. But I'm like, nah, this bluff isn't working. I have like no reason not to substitute again, as I don't really need HP on Dugtrio at all, as he does have the substitute. As I have the substitute again, and he does real Sucker Punch, so I do end up killing him. So that's good. Dark Resist, no Dark Resist, and his Dark type gone. So here I was like, crap, he has Gyarados. I realized this when I went into Dugtrio, but I didn't really feel like I had another play. I go straight out into Empoleon, maybe bluffing that I have HP Electric. I see he has Ice Fang. If he was Substitute, I probably just lost right here, if not sacked a lot of Pokemon. If he was like a standard sub DD, Waterfall, and Bounce set, I lost because this does not have Roar. I don't know, I like using knockoff on Empoleon. So I went with that, which obviously won't break a sub. But he ends up being Life Orb, so I'm like, oh good, Life Orb Ice Fang. That probably means he has very weird coverage. He's probably DD, Waterfall, Ice Fang, and Earthquake. And he probably expected my Chestnut. He probably expected my stall team with Chestnut. So I'm like, okay, he's either going to switch here or he's going to go for Earthquake. And so I go straight out into Aerodactyl, which works for me. He's very weak to Aerodactyl. He doesn't really have a very good answer to it. 5 Earthquake, Empoleon's 2 a KO. Sylveon's not the best switch in. It can still take 2 bar crit. So he goes out to Empoleon. I miss the Stone Edge, which sucks because I know if he's Shucka or Leftovers, but it happens. I switch out into my Empoleon. As he scalds again, gets a burn. I knock his lefties off. He sets up rocks, and I set up rocks. I was trying to burn him. And here he goes out into Sceptile, and I really felt like I couldn't risk switching out into anything. I felt like I could maybe still get a rest off with my Snorlax versus this Empoleon if I let it die. Not versus Sceptile, but yeah, versus Empoleon. So I was just, okay, I'm going to sack it because I didn't want to sack my Snorlax yet. But it's kind of odd because if I did sack my Snorlax and he went out into Empoleon, I could have rested. So, like, that didn't really make any sense on his end. But, so I'm just sacking this with the Defog, and that was pretty much it. He ends up going into Sylveon, not really sure why. I knock it off. That's good for my Aerodactyl. I'm just going to keep on scalding, trying to burn, get Torrent boosted Scalds, and he keeps on letting that happen. And for some reason, he protects. He doesn't wish. Like, he protects there, which makes sense, but he doesn't wish here, which I don't understand. There was no reason to Hyper Voice a burned Empoleon at 2%. He, like, messed up there, so I get a free kill with Aerodactyl. If he wished, he could have protected, and then I was pretty screwed. I would have to use my Celebi, Nasty Paw, and scam away. So I don't really know what he was doing there. Aerial Ace. He goes out into Empoleon hoping I have Aqua Tail again, which I don't. I kill him. He goes out into Gyarados. I pretty much win as long as I don't miss here. I miss, but he ends up going for a Dragon Dance, assuming I'll switch. Not really sure why at all. I guess I don't know what he was thinking. I guess he was hoping I'd switch, assuming... I guess he didn't even factor in me missing Stone Edge. He thought, okay, I'm going to lose. Might as well DD as I switch, and then DD again and then win. But no, I'm going to try and kill your Gyarados. I'm not trying to lose. But he DDs as I miss, but my next one will kill him as Aerodactyl's faster than +1 Gyarados. So I'm like, after that miss, I was like, okay, I lost. But then I saw he Dragon Dance. I was like, oh my god, why'd he do that? And I live another day. I just switch out and kill his last 2 Pokemon. He just goes ahead and forfeits. And on to number 3. Also, the music I have in the background. I realized I didn't have music in my first video, so I was like, I need some music. And I'm just using the Pokemon Cypher instrumental. It seemed very fitting. So here, I only prepped 2 teams. I was too lazy to build a 3rd team, and I don't know. I felt, okay, hopefully I 2-0 him, or he 2-0s me. I didn't really want to play a 3rd game, but it came down to it. So I didn't really know what to use. He probably noticed that I went and counter-teamed him the past 2 games. Maybe not the first game he didn't notice, but he definitely noticed the second game. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to use my trusty stall team, even though, like, he definitely has seen it. He probably knows all the sets. There's replays that he can look up. But knowing knowing the team doesn't really mean that you'll win. I can pretty much figure all his sets just by looking at him right now. It's not really that big of an advantage, and it's a very consistent team. I like it. It has its flaws, obviously, but I was just like, whatever, I'm going to go with this team and hope I win. I thought I was going to lose the last game because of the Stone Edge. I'm essentially just glad to be here because I got extremely hacked last game. He ended up making a comment like, oh, ha ha ha, like, the point is, like, if you get hacked, like, the person that gets hacked will win. Because I hacked him the first game, he hacked me the second game, even though we both won when we got hacked. So I go ahead, lead with Steelix, he leads with Empoleon. I don't want to Scald, and he can also, I don't want to Scald burn, or just take Scald damage in general, because Steelix is quite good versus team, it's good for Aggron. It's not bad for Celebi, it's good for Sylveon, and yeah, I also need Stealth Rock. There's just no reason for that. I go out into Mandibuzz, I have Heal Bell, and I'm just preventing Stealth Rock, and I can knock him off. He lets me knock him off, which is great. As he goes for the Scald again, fishing for the burn. He ends up getting it second turn, which sucks. Now he can set up Stealth Rock on my low Mandibuzz. I immediately want to heal that off. As I do, he goes out into Entei on my Sylveon, and he knows I'll switch, but I'm definitely protecting first, so not really sure why he switched. He should have Sacred Fired then switch on my protect, and then I'm not going to risk protecting again as I go into Smogon. But he goes in hard switches. I guess he didn't even consider that. Like, that didn't really make much sense. But he goes out into Celebi. I'm just going to go ahead and Hyper Voice. I can beat neutral Celebi 101 probably. So he goes back out into it. I'm just going to protect, waste PP, Sacred Fire, PP's low, and I have pressure when I go out into it. So I know it's going to happen. He ends up making the same. He learns from his mistake, makes the same play, but I'm fine with that. I go ahead and roar. If he nasty plots, that's great. He's roared out. Nasty plots, a pretty good play on his part. Because if I do switch, then he's in a great position as I go Cresselia or Mandibuzz. And if I go Mandibuzz and he's Dazzling Gleam, I die and he has Stealth Rock. If I go Cresselia, I'm risking crits and wasting Moonlight PP. But I'm just going to roar. If he Giga Drains, it does about 50%. And I'm also knowing that PP is going to be a large factor in this game. So if I can waste those Giga Drains with pressure, then that'll be fine. As I can live, and depending on what I roar him out into, I can rest on these four Pokemon, Empoleon, Entei, Aggron, and Sylveon. Probably not a Hydreigon Draco meter. So the chances are pretty good. But he ends up not even Giga Draining as he goes out in Empoleon. I'm pretty sure I just stay in as Scald as I can. He roars. He goes out into... It roars out into Cresselia. I make a double switch, predicting... I end up trying to predict something. I'm not really sure what I did there, but it ended up not working out, and he tried healing something up, so that didn't work out. I had to switch. Now my Mandibuzz is very low. It's under 25% when I come back in. But as he goes out into Sylveon, he's forced to Hyper Voice as I'm going to lay my rocks. He makes a risky play and just goes ahead, just goes and Heal Bells, knowing I'll Stealth Rock and not Heavy Slam. He protects. I Earthquake, trying to catch Empoleon. I'm just going to Earthquake again, as he's not going to stay in. But he ends up just going out into Hydreigon, which kind of stinks for me, because it got in for free, as I was trying to overpredict. But it was the right play, in my opinion. I go out into Chestnut, as I really did not want to go out into anything else, because it would give him too much momentum. I go in Chestnut knowing he won't Draco Meteor. If anything, he'll Dark Pulse. I'm fine with getting Spikes up, as it'll force him to defog, and if he doesn't defog, then I have Spikes, and if he does defog, then my Mandibuzz is relatively healthy again and still in the game. But he U-turns, I go Chestnut, and he goes Celebi, so now I'm going Mandibuzz, hoping he'll Psychic, or if he does Nasty Plot, I'm hoping maybe I live Giga Drain. I don't see an opportunity in which I can use my Mandibuzz, so hopefully I can live a Giga Drain at like +2 at 26%, but he has Dazzling Gleam anyway, and I die. So back to Cresselia, I do not think I have a very good chance of winning this game right now either. As long as he doesn't crit me, I can still handle that Celebi, which happens, +1. After +1, he switches out, and I'm just going to attack the Empoleon. I can always Heal Bell it off. So now I'm whittling it to where it's almost dead. He roars me out. I probably would have set Stealth Rock if I was him, but he doesn't, because also I just assume that he has to be Curse Aggron as this says Stealth Rock. So I Scald. After he Stealth Rocks, he goes out into Celebi. I'm just going to roar again as he Giga Drains, I believe, so I'm fine with that. Goes out to Empoleon, and I Scald again trying to kill it as he goes out into Celebi. I get the burn, luckily enough, after I used Scald multiple times, so it was bound to happen. He switches, predicting my Cresselia, and here I went Celebi. Oh, I went Sylveon expecting him to Giga Drain here, and I wanted to heal up. I wanted to just pivot and then heal up my, maybe I wanted to heal up my Steelix, but I expected a Giga Drain. But he ends up doubling into Hydreigon, expecting Cresselia, so that worked out for me. So I get a free Wish here into my Suicune, which I believe is low. It's at 6250, so yeah, that works out for me. He Sacred Fires. It's more PP. I Scald, get another burn. So I probably stay in here, I'm assuming. No, I switch out. It was a safe play, and I go into Celebi as I can beat a burned. I go out into Sylveon as I can beat a burned Celebi. Now I can protect, waste another Sacred Fire PP, make the same play. As he Sacred Fires again, not really sure why, and I get my rest off. I guess he doesn't know my set. So I switch out because at that point he was out of Sacred Fires, I believe. So I had a free Cresselia as he predicts that and goes out into Hydreigon. I go right back out into Celebi as he U-turns. Or Sylveon, I don't know why I keep on saying that. Flare Blitz, protect. He doubles out into Celebi. And this just happens again. The only play I can make is not get crit. Hopefully I don't. And at this point, okay, I realize he's just going to reveal his curse Aggron. What's my Suicune at? So it's healthy right now. And I Moonblast, he curses. I go out into my Steelix because I see this as an opportunity to get rocks up. He goes out into Empoleon, and I stay in hoping he defogs, and he just ends up killing me. But Chestnut's faster, and I go ahead and Woodhammer on his Entei, protect, go out into Suicune, and he kills himself and leaves my Suicune very low. And I've only used one Sleep Talk turn, so now I'm in a bad position again. But I still think I have a shot, depending on how I play. So I go out and do this the third time, I believe, hoping I don't get crit. It's the only play I have. It's a 6% chance. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. So based off the first game, okay, so I'm just gonna not like skip turns. So based off the first game, I know, and this game, and pretty much the entire series, he's been playing very aggressive. And at this point, I have to get those predictions correct. I have to play a bit ballsy. I can't make the same basic plays every single time. And I've played quite linear this entire game. So I know I have to make some ballsy plays. Well, not really ballsy plays. As you can see, the plays I make aren't exactly ballsy. But I'm hoping he plays overly aggressive. Like here, I Moonblasted, hoping he'd go out into Celebi. I don't think he needed to. I think his way to win was just making the safe play every single time. But I was hoping that he would keep on playing aggressive, which he does, and I catch his Celebi with the Moonblast, and I just keep on annoying him because he just lost. His Celebi is his main win con here, and hold on, let me see what happened here. I was talking, so I Moonblast here. Moonblast again. I go out into Suicune on because I know he's not going to switch again, and I need to get this next sleep turn off. I end up misclicking and not sleep talking, but it's fine. I go out, do this for the fourth time. He Giga Drains. He just wants to go out into Hydreigon at this point. I'm obviously going to stay in. He just wants chip damage, hoping to waste Moonlight PP. As the same thing happens, I Moonblast again, hoping he'll switch. Just staying in because it's anytime if he gets a double switch on my Suicune as I take Stealth Rock, then I'm probably just going to end up losing. But I can always rest on this Aggron no matter what. Like, I'm pretty sure I just PP stall Aggron with my rest Sleep Talk Coon. So I know that he knows that, so I'm just hoping maybe I'll catch his Celebi again. And I have to wait until a turn I know he'll stay in for sure for me to get my Suicune back to full health. So here I believe I stay in again, yeah, because he rests and he's thinking, oh, he'll go out into Suicune now. But I'm like, no, because that's still a time for him where he can make that play into Celebi because his Aggron's at full, so he'll think I'll switch, so I can't switch. And it's not exactly a risky play for me because worst that happens is he gets a curse up or attacks me, and Cresselia is bulky enough to take hits, so he does switch out on a Celebi, so I'm feeling good. I'm like, okay, maybe I do have a chance to win this game. I've made the plays that I've needed to come back. And then at this point, I go again, and I'm trying to make him get into his head that maybe I'm just going to stay in. Maybe he's just staying in. And at this point, I switch, and he stays in, and I get my rest off. So now I'm back in business. As he sacks his Empoleon, I get Roar. So he's dead to Stealth Rock. I go out into Sylveon, making a safe play. As he goes out into his own Sylveon, and I just stay in, and because I can't let him heal up his Celebi. If I switch out into any other Pokemon, his Celebi's healed up. So if I switched on his Wish, all three other Pokemon can't kill his Celebi after Stealth Rock, and that's the one thing I need to kill to win this game. So I just have to stay in. He ends up healing his Aggron in the meantime, which I'm fine with. Here I protect as I don't really lose much because he can still double into Celebi expecting my Suicune. I don't have to risk a heavy slam even though I expect him not to. So I end up protecting, and he ends up going out into Celebi as I expected, and he takes a round of Stealth Rock, which ends up being 6% due to leftovers. So that's good. I'm like, okay, I keep on getting him. His Celebi's getting weaker and weaker. So he goes out into his own Sylveon, knowing he can take 2. And here I know I wake up, and I'm trying to roar his Sylveon out into hopefully Empoleon or anything but Celebi, to where his Sylveon's low, because I can force him not to get the wish, or for Celebi to get the wish. Either way it works, and hopefully all I need is for him not to go out into Celebi on the roar, and the odds are in my favor, and luckily it works out. He goes out into Hydreigon. I'm fine with that being at full HP. I go back out into Sylveon. I attack. He wishes. I'm making the... He protects, and I was hoping I'd get like high damage roll or crit. At this point, I'm just trying to do the same thing, keep his Sylveon low. But now my Suicune's low again, and I go out into Sylveon. Yeah, because my Cresselia was low as well. So here he Giga Drains on that spot. I try to Hyper Voice, and I get him down to 5%. As I was not able to KO him, unfortunately. I was hoping I would, but he got enough from Giga Drain. So at this point, this is a very crucial turn. Sorry if the whole time I've been speaking fast, but this is a long game. I'm trying to go through it quickly so it's not as boring, but still try to get my thought process in. So at this point, he knows I need to protect to live the Psychic. We both know Psychic kills. And I can't, so my thought process was, if he does Psychic and kill my Sylveon, I was also hoping maybe a low roll. I didn't bother calculating because I knew I had to do this quickly. Hope a low roll Psychic maybe doesn't kill and I just kill him. So I'm hoping that he either Nasty Plots again or it's a low roll Psychic. Hoping low roll even doesn't kill. As if I did protect and he does Nasty Plot again, now I just lose. Now I can't win at all. Where if he does Psychic and my Sylveon does die, I can still come back with my Cresselia and Calm Mind up, assuming no crits, and still be able to hang on, even though his Celebi would be at a good amount of HP with all the Giga Drain, and I'd probably end up losing, but it was a better chance than protecting on his Giga Drain and just outright losing 100%. So he does end up going for the Nasty Plot, and I kill his Celebi. So here I have a sigh of relief. So now he goes out into Aggron. I know my Suicune will always handle it, and I can Leech Seed this just to make sure. Now, after I Leech Seed, I can get my spikes up. He goes out into Sylveon, and I switch out. Go ahead and Calm Mind for his Aggron to come in again. So I can go ahead and go into my Suicune and get that rest off. As he does Curse, I get my rest off. And now I'm in a good position. I go in. I know he's not going to Draco, so I go out into Chestnut. I hope that Woodhammer kills. It's a roll. I end up doing 36%. It lives on 1 HP and it kills me. But that's fine because it will be dead to... It will be dead to Stealth Arc. Here, I was nervous, yet like relieved that I actually came out on top. And I honestly didn't know if Moonblast did 7%, so I was like, whatever, I'm just going to Psyshock. As he does go out into the Hydreigon, I know I can live a Dark Pulse and just kill him. So that ends up working out, and now the only thing left is Aggron. He goes and sacks his Sylveon, so it can't roar out his Aggron. And he's just hoping that +6 can kill my Suicune before I PP stall him. I go out into Suicune, and I scald, burn, and now he rests. And now I'm just going to waste PP. I'm just going to skip through these. He gets up to +6, and we see that Heavy Slam does 30, and I'm faster, and he does not have enough PP. And I'm never going, and I cannot scald him because that'll force him to rest. That means he can rest and then not use Sleep Talk and then try to PP stall me. But as long as I don't damage him at all, rest will fail. so that will never happen. And he realizes he loses at this point. Even if he does crit me and then crit me again, I can always switch out into he had like 3 left, so I can always switch out and then come back in and then rest again and hope he doesn't get, yeah, and then rest, and then the only way he can attack me is through sleep talk, and the chances of him getting 3 sleep talks, no, that's not even possible. So yeah, 100% I won. I was trying to see if there was any chance he won, but nah. And he realized that, and he realizes that he lost. He knows I'm not going to attack him, and I win that game. So that was a very crazy, very, very crazy series, and I really enjoyed it. Vince played very well the first game, just outplayed me, and then I overcame Hack's second game, and then this very long and good game came number 3, where he played aggressive, I played aggressive, even though I brought stall, and it came down to a 50-50, a very peculiar 50-50 with a protect 50-50 and nasty plot, and it just ended up working out in my favor because I adapted to how he was playing the whole series, and I could see his thought process, and I just evaluated all the switches he was making into hoping that the 50-50 chance I was making was correct, and it ended up working out. So yeah, great games, Vince, and I will hopefully upload my round 2 match, which I think is against Choice Bandit Umbreon. So yeah, and if you do want me to upload something else, like other style videos, like other people's games, or even a live or something like that, just recommend it in the comments. So yeah, thanks guys. Peace.